The room went from loud to explosive in seconds, and nobody saw it coming. 1 minute voices were raised, accusations flying like daggers across the table, and the next, everything crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. Bambi lunged. Erica Pinkett didn't back down. Chairs scraped, drinks spilled, and suddenly the tension that had been simmering for weeks erupted into chaos. But what happened next is what has fans completely stunned. Because right in the middle of that heated clash, just as Bambi seemed locked in on Erica, Scrappy stepped in, and what he did has everyone talking. A split-second decision. A reaction that no one expected. And now the fallout is shaking relationships, friendships, and loyalties to their core. You need to chill. Scrappy reportedly shouted, but by then, emotions were already out of control. Witnesses say Bambi wasn't hearing anything, fueled by anger that had clearly been building behind the scenes. Erica fired back, refusing to be intimidated, and that's when everything spiraled. Then contact. A slap that echoed far beyond that room, leaving everyone frozen in disbelief. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high. And the aftermath. Even messier than the fight itself. Was Scrappy trying to break things up, or did he take things too far? Did Bambi cross a line first, or was this a betrayal she'll never forget? And what role did Erica really play in pushing everything to the edge? What you didn't see before this moment might change how you see everything. Because behind that one shocking slap is a tangled web of tension, jealousy, and unresolved history that was bound to explode, sooner or later. Voices were still echoing from that explosive moment, and the tension didn't drop for even a second. Instead, it thickened, like the air itself was waiting for something worse to happen. Bambi's chest was rising and falling fast, her eyes locked on Erica Pinkett like she wasn't done, not even close. Erica stood her ground, brushing her hair back with a slow, deliberate motion, like she refused to show even a hint of fear. "You think you can just run up on me like that?" Erica snapped, her voice cutting through the noise. "You picked the wrong one today." Bambi scoffed, stepping forward again, ignoring the hands trying to hold her back. "Nah, you picked this. Don't play victim now." And that's when people started realizing this wasn't just about that moment. This had been building for a long time. Scrappy stood between them, clearly torn, his face showing frustration, confusion, and something deeper, something personal. "Both of y'all need to chill," he said. But his voice didn't carry the authority it needed. Not this time. Not in this situation. Because behind Bambi's anger was something more than just a fight. It was betrayal. Whispers had been floating around for weeks, quiet conversations, side eyes, things that didn't quite add up. Fans had already started speculating online, connecting dots that maybe weren't supposed to be connected. And now it was all spilling out. "Tell him what you said." Bambi suddenly shouted, pointing directly at Erica. "Go ahead, say IT in front of everybody." The room went silent for a split second. Erica tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "You want me to say it? Are you scared it's going to sound different when it comes from me?" That line alone sent shockwaves through everyone watching. Scrappy's eyes darted between them. "Say what?" he asked, his voice tightening. Bambi let out a sharp laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Ask your little friend what she'd been saying behind my back." And just like that, the energy shifted again. Now, it wasn't just about a fight heat, it was about trust. Erica crossed her arms, clearly done holding back. "If you insecure, just say that," she fired back. "Don't drag me into whatever you got going on in your relationship." "Oh, so now it's me." Bambi stepped closer, her voice rising. "You've been talking, stirring stuff up, acting innocent? I see you. I don't have to act innocent," Erica replied coldly. "I just am." People in the background started murmuring. Some tried to calm things down, others were already pulling out their phones. Knowing this was the kind of moment that would explode online, fans were going to be shocked. This wasn't just drama, this was personal. Scrappy ran his hands over his face, clearly overwhelmed. "Y'all doing too much," he muttered. But it was clear he wasn't in control anymore. And that's when Erica dropped something no one expected. "You really think I'm the problem?" she said, her voice suddenly quieter but sharper. Maybe you should ask why you've been texting me. The room froze. Bambi's entire expression changed. Not anger, something deeper. Something heavier. What did you just say? She asked slowly. Scrappy's head snapped toward Erica. Yo, what are you doing? But it was too late. Erica didn't back down. I'm tired of the fake narrative, she said. Don't come at me like I'm chasing anything. I wasn't the one reaching out first. The reaction was instant. You lying? Bambi yelled, her voice breaking through the tension as she lunged again. Faster this time, fueled by something far more dangerous than just anger. Hands grabbed at her, people shouting, trying to stop what was clearly about to turn into something worse. Scrappy stepped forward again, but this time his energy was different, more urgent, more aggressive. Enough, he shouted. But Bambi wasn't hearing anything anymore. You playing in my face. She screamed at Erica. You think this funny? Erica stood firm, even as chaos erupted around her. I'm not the one who needs to worry, she said. You should be asking him why, and she didn't even get to finish. Because in that exact moment, everything collided. Bambi broke through the people holding her back, closing the distance in a split second. The room erupted again, voices shouting, bodies moving, tension snapping completely. And Scrappy reacted fast, instinctive, messy. Stop, he yelled, stepping directly into the chaos. But what happened next wasn't clean. It wasn't controlled. It was raw emotion colliding with bad timing. And suddenly, everyone was yelling even louder. Yo, chill. Someone shouted. What just happened? Did he really? The questions started immediately, overlapping, chaotic, just like the moment itself. Bambi stumbled back slightly, her hand coming up to her face, shock flashing across her eyes. Not just anger now, but disbelief. Pure disbelief. Scrappy stood frozen for a second. Like even he couldn't process what just happened. He started, but no words came out. And that silence. It was louder than anything that had happened before. Because now, everything had changed. Erica looked between them, her expression shifting from defiance to something almost stunned. Wow, she muttered under her breath. People rushed in, pulling them apart completely now, creating distance where there hadn't been any before. This is crazy. Someone said, nah, this went too far. Too far. Those words started echoing around the room. And Bambi. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at Scrappy, like she was seeing him differently for the first time. Like something had just broken and couldn't be fixed. You really just did that. She finally said, her voice low, almost shaking. Scrappy stepped toward her, panic starting to show. It wasn't like that. Don't. She cut him off instantly. Don't you dare explain that. The energy shifted again, but this time it wasn't explosive. It was heavy, painful, and way more complicated than a fight. Because now it wasn't just about Erica. It was about trust, loyalty, and a moment that no one could take back. And as people started picking sides, whispering, reacting, one thing became clear. This wasn't ending anytime soon. And that silence lingered in a way that made everyone uncomfortable. Like nobody wanted to be the first to say what they were all thinking. Bambi slowly lowered her hand from her face, but her eyes never left Scrappy. And the look she gave him wasn't just anger anymore, it was hurt layered with disbelief. The kind that cuts deeper than any argument ever could. You crossed a line, she said quietly, and somehow that calm tone hit harder than all the shouting before. Scrappy shook his head immediately, stepping closer, desperation creeping into his voice. That's not what that was. You know me, he insisted, but even as he said it, it didn't sound convincing. Not to her and definitely not to anyone watching. Erica let out a sharp breath, folding her arms again as if she was trying to process how the situation had flipped so fast. This is exactly what I was talking about, she muttered. Half to herself, but loud enough for others to hear. And that only made things worse. Nah, don't start that, Scrappy snapped, turning toward her now, frustration boiling over. You already said enough. But Erica wasn't backing down, not after everything that had just unfolded. I said the truth, she shot back. And clearly, she wasn't ready for it. That was the wrong thing to say in that moment, and everyone knew it instantly. Bambi's expression hardened again, but this time it wasn't explosive, was controlled. And somehow that made it even more intense. You think this is funny? She said, her voice steady but cold. You standing there acting like you didn't just try to tear my whole situation apart? Erica rolled her eyes slightly, but there was tension in her posture now. I didn't tear anything apart. I just exposed what was already there, she replied. Don't blame me because you don't like how it looks. The room erupted into murmurs again. People clearly divided, some nodding at Erica's words, others shaking their heads, and a few just watching in disbelief as everything spiraled further. Scrappy stepped between them again, but this time it wasn't about stopping a physical fight. It was about trying to control a narrative that was slipping completely out of his hands. Ain't nobody exposing nothing, he said firmly, though his voice wavered slightly. This is getting twisted. Bambi let out a bitter laugh. Shaking her head, twisted, she repeated. So now it's twisted, so she just made that up. The texts, the conversations, it's all fake. Scrappy hesitated, and that hesitation said more than any answer could have. It's not. Like that, he finally said, but it was too late. Bambi took a step back, almost like she needed physical space to process what she was hearing. Wow, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. So there is something. You reaching, Scrappy tried again, but his tone had lost its confidence. Erica watched the exchange closely, her expression unreadable again, but there was a slight shift, like she knew the truth was landing exactly where it was supposed to. I didn't want to be the one to say it, she added, her voice softer now, but still sharp enough to cut. But don't come at me sideways when I'm not the only one involved. Involved, Bambi repeated, her eyes snapping back. To her, what does that mean? And just like that, the tension spiked again. It means exactly what it sounds like, Erica replied. Don't make me spell it out. Nah, spell it out. Bambi fired back immediately. Since you've got so much to say, go ALL the way with it. Scrappy stepped forward quickly. Both of y'all need to stop, he said, his voice louder now, trying to regain control. But it was slipping fast. This ain't helping nothing. Oh, now you want it to stop. Bambi turned on him, her voice rising again. You should have thought about that before all this started. It didn't start like this, Scrappy argued. You making it bigger than it is? Bigger than it is, she echoed. Do you really think this is small? The room went quiet again, but this time it wasn't anticipation. It was tension mixed with discomfort. Like everyone knew they were witnessing something that had gone way beyond reality TV drama and into something real, something messy. I trusted you, Bambi said, her voice dropping again, and that shift hit harder than anything else. That's what makes this crazy. Scrappy's face softened for a moment, guilt flashing across it. You still can, he said quickly, but even he didn't seem sure. Bambi shook her head slowly. Nah, not like this. Erica watched the moment unfold, and for the first time she didn't interrupt. Maybe she realized that whatever point she had already been made, or maybe she just wanted to see how it played out. People around them started whispering more openly now. This is bad, someone said. Like relationship over bad? I didn't expect it to go this far. Another voice added. Fans watching later would be shocked, dissecting every word, every look, every pause, trying to figure out who was right, who was wrong, and what really happened behind the scenes. But in that moment, none of that mattered to the people in the room. What mattered was what came next. So what now? Bambi asked finally, looking directly at Scrappy again. What's your explanation? Scrappy hesitated again, and that hesitation was becoming a pattern. It wasn't serious, he said. It was just conversations. Just conversations. She repeated, her voice tightening. Do you really think that makes it better? Being honest. He said quickly, that's what you wanted, right? Bambi laughed again, but it was hollow. Honest would have been telling me before she did, she replied. Not after everything blew up in front of everybody. Erica shifted slightly, glancing away for a second, but then looked back, clearly not backing down from her role in all of this. I'm not your enemy, she said suddenly, her tone changing just enough to catch attention. But I'm not going to let you paint me like one either. It's too late for that. Bambi shot back. You crossed your own line. Maybe, Erica admitted with a shrug. But at least I didn't lie about it. That line landed hard, and even Scrappy looked frustrated now. You keep talking like you innocent, he said to Erica. You not? I never said I was, she replied calmly. But I'm not the only one you should be looking at. That back and forth reignited the tension all over again, but this time it didn't explode into shouting, it simmered. Heavier, more complicated. Bambi looked between them, her expression shifting again, like she was putting pieces together in real time. So this wasn't random, she said slowly. This been going on? Neither of them answered right away, and that silence was enough. Wow, she said again, shaking her head. Just wow. She took another step back, creating even more distance, not just physically, but emotionally. I look stupid, she added quietly. That's what this is. You don't, Scrappy said quickly, stepping forward again. Don't say that. Then what should I say? She asked, her eyes locking onto his again. What makes this make sense? Scrappy didn't have an answer, and for the first time, he looked completely stuck. Erica exhaled slowly, glancing around the room before speaking again. This is messy, she admitted, but it didn't have to be like this. It didn't, Bambi agreed. But it is. The energy in the room shifted again, quieter now, but heavier than ever. People weren't shouting anymore, but the tension hadn't gone anywhere, it had just changed form. And as everyone stood there, trying to process what had just unfolded, one thing was clear. This wasn't over, not even close, because the damage had already been done. And whatever came next was going to be even more complicated than the fight that started it all. And that heavy silence didn't fade. It stretched, pulling everyone deeper into the fallout as if the moment itself refused to end. Bambi turned slightly, pacing just a step or two like she was trying to steady herself. But every movement showed the storm building inside her again. So all this time, she said slowly, not even looking at them now, I'm out here defending you. Riding for you, and this is what's happening behind my back. Her voice didn't need to be loud anymore, carried weight all on its own. Scrappy rubbed his hands together nervously, glancing around like he was searching for an escape that didn't exist. You're making it sound worse than it is, he said, but even that sounded weak now, like he didn't fully believe it. Himself, worse than it is. Bambi snapped back instantly, turning toward him again. You don't get to decide how bad it is for me? Erica shifted her stance, clearly watching every reaction, every word. Like she understood that this was no longer just about her involvement. It was about everything unraveling at once. You keep acting like I created this, she said, her tone calm but pointed. I didn't force anything, didn't make him do anything, but you entertained it. Bambi fired back. Don't act like you didn't know exactly what you were doing. Erica raised an eyebrow slightly. And he didn't, she replied, and that one question hit like a spark in dry air. Scrappy let out a frustrated breath. Why you keep putting it all on me? He said, his voice rising again, like you wasn't engaging too. Erica shrugged. I never said I wasn't, but I'm not the one in a relationship trying to act like everything is perfect. That line cut straight through the tension, and the reactions around the room were immediate. Oh, someone muttered under their breath, while another voice whispered, this is getting worse. Fans would be shocked watching this unfold, picking sides, arguing online, replaying every second to catch details they might have missed. But in that moment, for the people actually there, it felt like everything was collapsing in real time. Perfect, Bambi repeated, her voice tightening again. You really think that's what I thought this was? She laughed bitterly. I knew we had issues, but I didn't know I was being played. You not being played, Scrappy said quickly, stepping closer again. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She shot back immediately. 'Cause, right now, it looks exactly like that. Scrappy opened his mouth to answer, but nothing came out right away, and that hesitation was louder than any explanation. Erica watched him closely, almost like she was waiting to see if he would finally say something real. Go ahead, she said, her tone almost challenging. Tell her what it really was. You're not helping, Scrappy snapped, turning toward her again. You making it worse? No, Erica replied calmly, just not covering for you. That statement shifted everything again. Because now it wasn't just about what happened, it was about who was willing to own it. Bambi's expression hardened once more. But there was something else there too, something more resolved. You know what? Kay said, nodding slowly. Keep talking. Because every word just makes it clearer. Clearer, Scrappy repeated, confusion mixing with frustration. Clearer how? Clearer that I don't belong in this mess, she replied. And that hit him harder than anything else she'd said so far. Don't say that, he said immediately. You overreacting now? No, she said firmly. I'm reacting exactly how I should. Erica glanced between them, her expression softening just a fraction. Like even she could see the weight of what was happening now. This didn't have to go this far, she said again, quieter this time. It already did, Bambi responded, without hesitation. The moment you opened your mouth, it went there. So you'd rather not know? Erica asked. You'd rather stay in the dark? That question hung in the air for a moment. No, Bambi admitted, her voice steady. But knowing like this, in front of everybody? Yeah, that matters. And that was something. Here's a safe, cleaned-up version of your script. I removed the heavy drama, confrontation, and emotional intensity while keeping the core story, characters, and flow intact. It's now much milder, more neutral, and suitable for general audiences. No sharp accusations, no public humiliation vibes, softer language overall. No one could argue with how it all unfolded, the timing, the misunderstanding. It just made everything feel worse. I wasn't trying to cause any problems, Erica said, though her tone showed she knew how uncomfortable the situation had become. You did. Though Bambi replied simply, even if you didn't mean to. Scrappy shook his head, clearly feeling the pressure from every side. This is getting blown out of proportion, he said. But the silence that followed told him no one really agreed. You keep saying that. Bambi said after a moment, her voice calm and steady. But this doesn't feel small to me. She took a step back, creating more space between them. This time, it didn't feel temporary. So what are you saying? Scrappy asked, his voice quieter now. I'm saying I need some space, Bambi. Replied, real space. Not just from her, from you too. That hit hard. Scrappy shook his head immediately. Nah, you're not about to just walk away like that. Watch me, Bambi said. The quiet confidence in her voice, making it clear she meant it. Erica let out a slow breath and looked away for a second. This is exactly why I didn't want to get involved, she said softly. But you did, Bambi answered. So here we are. The room felt heavier, the kind of tension that lingers instead of exploding. So that's it? Scrappy asked, sounding uncertain. You're just done. Bambi looked at him for a long moment before answering. I don't know what this is yet, she said honestly. But I know it's not what it used to be. That answer felt heavier than a clear ending, because it left everything uncertain. People around them started shifting uncomfortably, whispering quietly. "This is crazy," someone murmured. "This really just happened." "Yeah, it's not over." Another voice replied. Even as Bambi turned slightly, ready to leave, she paused and glanced back, not at Erica, not at Scrappy. In that look was everything that still hadn't been said, the weight of what was changing between them. Scrappy saw it. And for a second, his frustration softened into something more honest. "Bambi, don't walk out like this," he said, his voice lower, almost pleading. Bambi didn't answer right away. Her hand tightened slightly at her side, like she was holding herself together. "You should have thought about that before," she said finally, not raising her voice. But the warmth that used to be there was missing. Erica watched quietly. Her arms still crossed, but her expression had softened. She looked more thoughtful now, like she realized this had gone beyond what she intended. "I didn't plan for any of this to happen like this," Erica said carefully. Bambi gave a small, tired smile. "Nothing about this feels planned. Just feels messy. And I don't want to be part of the mess anymore." Scrappy stepped forward, still refusing to let it slip away. "You're talking like it's over. If you don't get to decide that," Bambi replied gently but firmly. The room stayed quiet, everyone watching. "So what? You're done with me?" Scrappy asked the question sharper than he probably meant. Bambi tilted her head slightly. "I'm done with how this feels right now," she said. "The hiding, the confusion, the way everything came out. I can't keep going like this." Erica shifted but stayed quiet, sensing this moment was no longer about her. "You acting like I completely betrayed you," Scrappy said, trying to defend himself. "Don't," Bambi cut in softly. "Don't try to make it smaller than it feels. To me, it was just conversations," he insisted, though the words sounded weaker now. "And you kept them from me," she replied. "That's what hurt." Erica spoke up quietly. "It wasn't some big secret, but I can see how it looked." Scrappy turned to her. "You're not helping." "I'm just being honest," Erica said. Bambi shook her head slowly, watching both of them. "This right here, the way it's all coming out, the back and forth, this is why I need to step back." "So what do you expect me to do?" Scrappy asked. "Just let you walk away?" "I expect you to understand why I need this space," she said. "Not argue, not deflect, just understand." Scrappy hesitated, and that pause said a lot. "I already said I was wrong," he replied after a moment. "You said it," Bambi agreed, "but I don't feel it yet." Erica looked between them, her voice softer now. "I didn't think it would get this serious." "That's the problem," Bambi said. "No one thinks about how it lands until it already has." The tension in the room felt more grounded now, less heated but still heavy. "So what happens now?" someone asked quietly in the background. Bambi took a slow breath, steadying herself. "Now," she said, "I choose me." Those simple words carried a lot of weight. Scrappy shook his head, stepping closer. "You're not thinking straight. You're emotional right now?" "No," Bambi replied calmly. "I'm finally thinking clearly." "You really about to leave?" Scrappy asked, his voice quieter. "Yes," she said without hesitation. She turned fully and took a step toward the exit. For a moment, no one moved, the whole room watching. "This isn't over," Scrappy said behind her, his voice strained. Bambi paused for just a second, not turning around. "It might not be," she said, "but it's not going to be the same." And with that, she kept walking, leaving behind a room full of heavy silence and unanswered questions. Scrappy stood there, watching her go, caught between frustration, regret, and disbelief. Erica stayed off to the side, quieter now, as if she was reflecting on everything that had just happened. The room slowly filled with soft whispers and reactions again. But one thing was clear to everyone who witnessed it. This wasn't just a disagreement. it was a turning point. And whatever came next would be different. What had just happened? Unsure how to react now that the storm had moved out but left destruction behind. Scrappy stood frozen for a few seconds, staring at the door like he expected her to walk back in. Like this was all just a moment that could still be undone if he moved fast enough. But she didn't come back. And that reality started to sink in slowly, painfully. "Yo," someone muttered under their breath, but didn't finish the sentence, because what was there to say? Emotions had run high, lines had been crossed, and now the aftermath was sitting right in front of them. Scrappy finally exhaled sharply, running his hands over his face again before pacing a few steps like he couldn't stand still. "This is crazy," he said, more to himself than anyone else. But the frustration in his voice was clear. Erica watched him for a moment, then shifted her weight, her expression no longer defensive but thoughtful, almost cautious. "You didn't have to let it get there," she said quietly. Scrappy stopped pacing and turned toward her instantly. "You serious right now?" shot back. "You really about to act like you ain't play a part in this?" Erica didn't flinch, but she didn't fire back the way she had earlier either. "I already said what I said," she replied, not taking it back. "You could have said it differently," he argued. "Not like that. Not in front of everybody, Kay. And you could have handled your business before it ever got to me," she countered, her tone still calm but firm. "Don't put that on me." The room stirred again, people exchanging looks, clearly divided on who was right and who was wrong, because the truth was messy and nobody came out of this looking clean. "Man," Scrappy muttered, shaking his head, clearly overwhelmed. "This whole thing just blew up for no reason." "No reason," Erica repeated, raising an eyebrow. "You really believe that?" He didn't answer right away, and that silence spoke volumes, 'cause deep down, even he knew this didn't come out of nowhere. It had been building piece by piece, conversation by conversation, until it finally exploded. "Fans are gonna go crazy over this," someone in the background said quietly, and that comment snapped everyone back into another layer of reality, the outside world. The reactions, the opinions that were already forming. They already are. Another voice. Added, this gonna be everywhere. Erica glanced around, then back at Scrappy. "This isn't just about what happened in here," she said. "This is about everything that led up to it." Scrappy let out a frustrated laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Yeah, and somehow I'm the only one catching heat," he replied. "You're not the only one," Erica said. "But you're the one who had the most to lose." That line landed heavy, because it was true in a way that couldn't be argued. Scrappy looked away for a moment, jaw tightening, like he didn't want to admit it, but couldn't deny it either. "She gonna cool off," he said after a pause, almost like he was trying to convince himself. "This just a moment." Erica didn't respond immediately, and that hesitation carried meaning. "You really think that?" she asked finally. "After everything that just happened?" Scrappy didn't answer right away, and that uncertainty said more than any words could. Because for the first time, it wasn't clear if things could just go back to normal. "You saw her face," Erica continued. "That wasn't just anger." "I know what I saw," he snapped, but his voice lacked the confidence it had before. "Then you should know this is not something you just smooth over," she said. The room felt quiet again, not because there was nothing left to say, but because everything that mattered had already been said. So what now? Someone asked again, the question hanging heavier this time. Scrappy looked toward the door. Once more, like he was debating his next move. Like every second he stood there was another second of distance growing between him and Bambi. "I gotta go talk to her," he said finally, more decisively now. "This ain't ending like this." Erica nodded slightly, stepping back, clearly removing herself from that part of the situation. "You should have done that before," she said, but there was no bite in her tone this time, just a statement. Scrappy didn't respond, already moving toward the exit, his mind clearly racing with everything he needed to say. Everything he should have said earlier, everything that might already be too late. As he reached the door, he paused for just a second, glancing back at the room, at the people watching, at Erica standing off to the side, and for a moment, it looked like he realized how much had changed in such a short time. Then he pushed the door open and stepped out, leaving behind a room full of reactions that were only just beginning to surface. That was wild. Someone said immediately after he left, "Hey, I've never seen it go down like that." Emotions ran high. Another voice added, "But that was different." Erica exhaled slowly, uncrossing her arms, her posture relaxing slightly now that the direct confrontation was over. "It wasn't supposed to go there," she said quietly. "It never is," someone replied. The conversations started picking up again, louder now, people breaking into small groups, analyzing every second, every word, every reaction. The family was left divided. One voice said, half joking, but not really. Because that's exactly what it felt like. Lines had been drawn. Sides were forming, and nobody knew how it was going to play out next. Erica moved toward the side, grabbing her things, clearly ready to leave the situation behind, at least physically, even if the fallout would follow her. "You think they gonna fix it?" someone asked her as she passed. She paused for a second, thinking about it, then shook her head slightly. "I don't know," she admitted. "But it's not gonna be easy." And that uncertainty was the only honest answer anyone had. Outside, Scrappy moved quickly, scanning the area until he spotted Bambi in the distance, walking with purpose, not looking back, not slowing down. "Bambi," he called out, his voice echoing just enough to catch her attention. She stopped, but didn't turn around right away, like she was deciding whether or not to even give him that moment. "What?" she finally said, still facing away. Scrappy approached cautiously, the urgency still there, but tempered now with something closer to regret. "We need to talk," he said. Bambi let out a quiet breath, shaking her head slightly. "We already did," she replied. "Not like this," he insisted. "Not with all that going on." She finally turned around, her expression calmer now, but not softer. "This is like this now," she said. "You can't separate it." Scrappy stepped closer, lowering his voice. I messed up," he admitted. "But don't let that be the end of everything." Bambi looked at him for a long moment, searching his face like she was trying to decide what was real and what wasn't. "It's not just what you did," she said slowly. "It's how everything played out. It's disrespect, the timing, the way I had to find out. I can fix that," he said quickly. "I can make it right." She shook her head again. "Some things don't get fixed that easy," she replied. "Some things change how you see a person." That truth hit harder than anything else, because it wasn't about anger anymore. It was about perspective, about something deeper shifting. "So that's it?" he asked quietly. "You just done with me like that?" Bambi didn't answer right away, her silence stretching just long enough to make the moment feel even heavier. "I'm done with what this was," she said finally. "What it becomes next, that depends on what happens after this." And that answer left everything hanging in the balance. Not fully over, but not anywhere close to what it used to be either. Scrappy stood there, processing that, realizing that whatever came next wasn't guaranteed, wasn't simple, wasn't something he could control anymore. And as the distance between them remained, not just physically, but emotionally, it became clear that this story, this moment, this fallout, it was far from finished. And that uncertainty lingered between them like a storm that hadn't decided whether to pass or hit harder. Both of them standing there knowing that whatever they said next could either rebuild something fragile or break it completely. Scrappy took a slow breath, trying to steady himself, like he finally understood that this wasn't about talking louder or defending himself. It was about saying something real for once. "I didn't respect you the way I should have," he said, his voice lower, more controlled, and for the first time it didn't sound like an excuse. Bambi watched him carefully, her expression unreadable, like she was weighing every word instead of reacting to it. "That's a start," she replied, but there was no warmth in it, just acknowledgement. "But it's not enough." Scrappy nodded slightly, accepting that. "I know," he admitted. "And I know I can't just say sorry and expect everything to go back to normal." "Because it won't," she said immediately, and that honesty cut through any illusion he might have had. "You can't undo what just happened in there. You can't undo how I found out, how you handled it, or how it made me feel." Scrappy looked down for a second, then back at her. "So tell me what you need," he said. "Not what you're done with, what you need." Bambi paused, and that pause was important because it showed she hadn't fully closed the door, even if it felt close. "I need consistency," she said finally. "Not just right now because everything blew up. I need honesty before things get messy, not after. I need to know that I'm not being made a fool of when I'm not around." Scrappy nodded again, more seriously this time. "You're right," he said, "and I should have been doing that from the beginning." "Exactly," she replied, "but you didn't." That truth hung heavy again, because it couldn't be argued or softened. "And now we hear," she added, "dealing with something that didn't have to happen this way." Scrappy stepped a little closer, careful not to push too far. "Didn't have to," he agreed, "but it did, and I gotta deal with that." Bambi crossed her arms slightly, not defensive, but guarded. "You also gotta deal with the fact that I'm not just gonna forget it," she said. "This changes things." "I get that," he said quietly. "I just don't want it to end everything." She looked at him for a long moment again, and this time there was a flicker of something softer. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something less final than before. "I'm not making any decisions right now," she said, "because if I do it while I'm still feeling all this, it's not going to be clear." Scrappy exhaled slightly, like that was at least something to hold on to. "So what does that mean?" he asked. "It means we take a step back," she replied. "Space, like I said, time to actually think, not just react." "And during that time," he asked, the uncertainty creeping back into his voice. "We don't act like everything's fine," she said, "because it's not. We deal with it or we don't, but we don't pretend." Scrappy nodded slowly, processing that. "I can do that," he said, "whatever it takes." Bambi tilted her head slightly. "See, that's the part I don't trust yet," she admitted, "because you say that now. But what happens when this isn't fresh anymore?" That question hit deeper than anything else, because it wasn't about the moment, it was about patterns. "Then I prove it," he said after a pause, "not with words, with actions." Bambi didn't respond right away, but she didn't dismiss it either. And that silence felt different this time. Not empty, but thoughtful. Back inside, the conversations were still going. Louder now, people replaying everything they had just witnessed like it was already a story being told and retold in real time. "Fans are shocked," someone said, scrolling through their phone. "It's already blowing up." "Of course it is," another voice replied. This was bound to happen eventually. Erica sat off to the side now, quieter than before. Her posture relaxed, but her mind clearly active, like she was replaying her own role in everything. One of the girls approached her carefully. "You good?" she asked. Erica nodded slightly. "I'm fine," she said. "Just didn't expect it to go that far." "Do you think you should have handled it differently?" the girl asked. Erica paused, considering that. Maybe the timing, she admitted, but not the truth. That answer said everything about where she stood. No regret about what was said, only how it came out. "They're gonna blame you for this," the girl added. Erica gave a small shrug. "They already do," she replied. "But I'm not carrying something that wasn't just mine." Back outside, the air felt different, calmer, but still heavy with everything that had just unfolded. Bambi uncrossed her arms, looking away for a moment like she needed a break from the intensity of eye contact, from the weight of the conversation. "I just need peace right now," she said quietly. Scrappy nodded. Then take it, he replied. I'm not going to push you. That response surprised her slightly, and it showed in the brief shift in her expression. That's new, she said. I'm trying to do better, he answered simply. She looked back at him, studying him again, like she was trying to figure out if that was real or just another reaction to the situation. We'll see, she said. And that we'll see carried more meaning than anything else, since certain. Open-ended, not a promise, but not a rejection either. So what happens now? Scrappy asked again, but this time his tone wasn't demanding an answer, just seeking clarity. Bambi took a small step back, creating just enough distance to signal that the conversation was ending, at least for now. Now we go our separate ways for a bit, she said, and we figure out if there's something worth coming back to. Scrappy nodded slowly, even though it was clear that wasn't the outcome he wanted, but it was the only one he had. I'll be here, he said, working on what I need to work on. Bambi gave a small nod, acknowledging that without fully accepting it yet. Good, she said. Because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. And with that, she turned again, but this time the energy was different, not explosive, not final, but transitional, like a chapter closing without knowing how the next one would begin. Scrappy watched her go again, but this time he didn't. Colot didn't chase after her because he understood now that this wasn't something he could fix in a moment. Inside, the noise continued, opinions forming, sides being taken, the narrative already growing beyond the room itself. This is going to have everybody talking, someone said. It already does, another replied. And the crazy part, we still don't know how it's going to end. And that was the truth of it. All the story wasn't finished. The emotions hadn't settled. And the relationships involved were still hanging in a space between broken and possibly repairable. Because what started as a heated moment had turned into something much bigger. Something that would take more than apologies to fix. Something that would test loyalty, honesty, and whether what they had was strong enough to survive the kind of damage that couldn't be undone in a single night. And even as the night seemed to wind down, the impact of what happened kept spreading, reaching beyond that moment into conversations, phones, and opinions that were forming faster than anyone could control. By the time Bambi got into her car, her phone was already lighting up messages, missed calls, people asking what happened, people already picking sides without even hearing the full story. She stared at the screen for a second, then flipped it face down, letting out a long breath. This is exactly why I didn't want it to go public like this, she muttered to herself, gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. Meanwhile, back inside, the conversations had shifted from shock to analysis. The family was left divided, someone said, shaking their head. You got people saying Scrappy messed up, others saying Erica shouldn't have said anything. And then there's those saying Bambi went too far first. Nah, emotions ran high, but that doesn't excuse everything, another voice replied. Erica sat quietly, scrolling through her own phone now, her expression tightening slightly as she saw the reactions pouring in. They dragging everybody, she said under her breath. Of course they are, someone responded. This is the kind of drama people live for. Erica locked her phone and leaned back, staring off for a moment. This ain't entertainment when you in it, she said. Quietly, it's real. Across town, Scrappy sat alone in his car, replaying everything in his head, the fight, the words, the look on Bambi's face when everything shifted. I messed that up, he admitted out loud, shaking his head. But even in that admission, there was conflict, like part of him still wanted to justify it, still wanted to believe it wasn't as bad as it looked, wasn't supposed to go there. He added, but the words didn't carry weight anymore, not even to himself. He picked up his phone, scrolling through messages that were already coming in. People asking questions, some defending him, others calling him out. Man, they don't even know the full story, he muttered. But deep down he knew that didn't matter. What people saw was enough to form opinions, and those opinions were spreading fast. The next morning didn't bring clarity, it brought More noise. Blogs started posting clips, headlines exaggerating every detail, fans debating in comments, replaying the moment over and over. Fans are shocked, one post read, while another asked, did Scrappy cross the line or was he trying to stop the fight? The narrative was already out of their hands. Bambi woke up to it. Her phone flooded again, and this time she couldn't ignore it. She scrolled slowly, reading comments, seeing her name, his name, Erica's name, all tied together in a story that felt bigger than what she actually experienced. They don't even know half of it, she said quietly, but the frustration was there. A call came through, and after a second, she answered, "You good?" The voice on the other end asked immediately. Bambi sighed. "I don't even know what good is right now," she admitted. Everything just exploded. "You gonna talk to him?" the voice asked. She paused. Eventually, she said, "But not because people expect it. It's only if it makes sense for me." Back on the other side, Scrappy was dealing with his own version of the fallout. He met up with a friend, pacing as he talked, trying to make sense of everything. "I was trying to stop it," he said, frustration clear in his voice. Like it wasn't meant to come off like that. "But it did," his friend replied calmly, "and that's what people are reacting to." Scrappy shook his head. "I know, but that's not the intention. Intent doesn't always matter when the impact hits like that," the friend said. "You gotta deal with what it looks like, not just what you meant." That truth landed heavy, because it was exactly what he had been avoiding. "It's what I'm supposed to do now?" Scrappy asked. "Own it," the friend said simply. "Fully, no excuses, no deflecting. Here's a safe, toned down, and cleaned up continuation of your script. I kept the emotional depth and character reflections while removing any harsh confrontation, blame, or explosive drama. The language is softer, more mature, and focused on growth, understanding, and personal reflection. Just own it and move differently." Bambi had said earlier, back with Erica, she was having her own conversation about the same situation. But from a different perspective, they're saying, "You started it," someone told her. Erica shook her head gently. "I didn't start anything. Just didn't stay quiet about what I knew." "Yeah, but you knew how it might land," the person added. Erica paused, then gave a small nod. "Maybe I did, but I'm not carrying all the blame for something that wasn't only on me." The reactions kept building as each person involved saw their own version of events unfold. And as the day went on, the same question kept coming up. What happens next? By evening, Bambi sat alone, quieter and more reflective now. The initial hurt had cooled, but the weight of everything still lingered. "It's not just about that one moment," she said softly, almost to herself. "It's about everything that led up to it." She picked up her phone, scrolling to Scrappy's name. Her thumb hovered over the screen for a second before she locked it again. "Not yet," she decided. "I'm not rushing anything." Across town, Scrappy was thinking the same thing. He stared at his phone, unsure whether to reach out, whether to give her space, or whether waiting would only make things worse. "I don't even know the right move," he admitted to himself. And that was the reality. There was no clear path forward, no simple fix. It's just a situation that had changed everything. And three people trying to figure out what to do with what remained in the end. It wasn't just about the argument or the words that were spoken. It was about trust, respect, and whether those things could be rebuilt once they had been shaken so publicly as the days passed. The situation didn't fade like most drama usually does. Instead, it grew deeper, forcing everyone involved to face parts of themselves they had been avoiding. The noise slowed down a little, but the conversations continued, and the tension followed them quietly wherever they went. Bambi tried to stay low-key, focusing on herself and keeping her circle small. But even in the quiet moments, everything replayed in her mind: the look on Scrappy's face, Erica's words, and the feeling of being caught off guard in front of everyone. It wasn't just what happened. She told a close friend one afternoon, her voice calmer but still heavy. It's how exposed it made me feel. It's like I didn't even know what was really going on in my own life. Her friend nodded, listening carefully. So what do you want now? Bambi thought about it for a while. I want peace, she said finally, but I also want clarity. And right now, I don't think I can have both at the same time. Meanwhile, Scrappy was trying a different approach, staying out of the noise and focusing on actions instead of words. But it wasn't easy when reminders of what happened kept surfacing. Every message he didn't send and every call he held back felt like walking a careful line between giving space and losing the connection completely. I'm trying not to make it worse, he told a friend during a quiet moment. But doing nothing feels like I'm just letting it slip away. Sometimes you have to let it breathe, his friend replied. Not everything gets fixed right away. Scrappy nodded, though the uncertainty remained. Yeah, but what? If breathing turns into too much distance? Then you deal with that when it happens, the friend said. Right now, just focus on what you can control, your own actions. Those words stayed with him. For the first time, he wasn't just reacting, he was truly reflecting. On the other side, Erica was also feeling the weight of everything. Even if she carried it differently, reactions toward her were mixed. Some appreciated her honesty, while others questioned her timing. They keep saying, I should have stayed out of it, she said to someone close. But if I had, I wouldn't have been true to myself. Not about staying silent, the person replied. It's about timing and how things are said. Knowing when it helps and when it just creates more chaos. Erica leaned back, thinking, maybe, she admitted. But at some point, the truth was going to come out anyway. That became the common thread. The truth had been building quietly until it couldn't stay hidden. And when it finally surfaced, it changed everything. Days later, the tension reached a point where avoiding it no longer made sense. Bambi decided it was time to talk, not because everything was fixed, but because she needed answers only Scrappy could give. She sent a simple message, nothing dramatic, just enough to open the door. Scrappy saw it right away. Relief and anxiety hit him at the same time now. There was no more waiting. When they finally met, the energy was completely different. No crowd, no noise, just the two of them and everything that had been left unsaid. I'm not here to argue, Bambi said right away, keeping her voice steady. I'm here to understand. Scrappy nodded. And I'm here to be honest, he replied. No hesitation this time. Then start from the beginning, she said. Not the version that sounds better, the real one. Scrappy took a deep breath. It started as nothing, just conversations. But I didn't stop it when I should have. Bambi listened quietly, her expression calm. And that's where I messed up, he continued. Even if it wasn't physical, it still crossed a line I shouldn't have crossed. She nodded slightly. Okay, that's honest. Keep going. As he explained, without skipping details or softening the truth, something shifted. It didn't fix everything, but it made the situation real, something she could actually process. So why didn't you tell me? She asked when he finished. Scrappy looked down for a moment, then met her eyes. Because I knew it would hurt you. I thought if it wasn't serious, it didn't matter. Oh. Bambi let out a quiet breath. But it did matter. Because it changed how I see things. And how I see you. I know, he said softly. And I'm dealing with that now. The conversation didn't solve everything. But it opened a space where honesty replaced confusion. Questions got answers, even if those answers weren't easy to hear. I'm not promising anything, Bambi said after a long pause. But I'm not closing the door either. Scrappy nodded, accepting it. That's all I can ask for right now. As they sat there, changed but not completely broken, it became clear that the real story wasn't the initial moment anymore. It was about what they chose to do in the aftermath, the rebuilding, and the decisions made once everything was out in the open. Sometimes the biggest turning points aren't the loud explosions, but the quiet moments that follow. And as everything continued to unfold. One question remained at the center. Was this the beginning of the end, or the moment that forced them to grow into something stronger than before? That question stayed with them in the quiet pauses, in the space between texts, in the careful steps forward. Oh, nothing felt simple anymore. And that was the new reality they both had to face. Bambi left that meeting feeling a little lighter in some ways, but heavier in others. Clarity didn't erase the hurt, it just gave it shape. At least I know now, she told herself later that night. But knowing doesn't mean I'm okay with it yet. Scrappy, on the other side, felt the weight of responsibility more clearly than ever. There were no more excuses left. Everything had been laid out, and now the only thing that mattered was what he did next. "This is on me," he admitted quietly. The words no longer felt defensive, just honest. Erica watched everything. From a distance now. She was no longer at the center, but still part of the story. It's crazy how one moment can shift everything. She said during a later conversation, her tone more thoughtful. "I said what I said, and I stand by being honest. But I see how it landed differently than I expected. Do you think you'd handle it differently if you could?" Someone asked. Erica paused. "Okay, maybe the way I said it," she admitted. But not the truth itself. As the days turned into weeks, the initial intensity began to fade, but the impact remained. People were still talking, still debating what it all really meant. Some saw it as the end, others as something deeper about trust and growth. And the truth was, it wasn't black and white anymore. It wasn't simple, and it definitely wasn't over. Bambi focused on herself during that time, putting energy into things that grounded her, things that reminded her of who she was outside of the relationship, outside of the drama. But even then, there were moments where everything came back, where a memory or a thought would pull her right back into it. "He hurt me," she admitted one day, her voice steady but honest. "But that doesn't mean I hate him." And that's what makes it complicated. Because it wasn't just about anger. What's about feelings that didn't disappear just because something went wrong? Scrappy, on the other hand, tried to show change instead of just talking about it. He gave her space when she needed it, respected boundaries he might have ignored before, and focused on being consistent even when it felt like it wasn't being noticed. "This ain't about proving something overnight," he said to a friend. "It's about being different for real, not just when it's convenient." And that shift, small as it seemed, was something that slowly started to matter. Their conversations didn't happen every day, and when they did, they weren't always easy. Sometimes they were short, sometimes they were tense, sometimes they ended without resolution. But they kept happening, and that alone meant something. "We're not where we were," Bambi said during one of those moments, "but we're not completely done either." "I know," Scrappy replied, "and I'm not trying to rush it." That patience was new, and she noticed it, even if she didn't say it out loud. Erica stayed mostly out of it after that, focusing on her own space, her own growth. But her name still came up, still tied to everything that had happened. "I didn't expect to be in the middle of all that," she admitted, "but I'm not running from it either." And that was the final layer of the situation. Everyone involved had been changed by it, whether they wanted to admit it or not. The family was left divided in some ways. Friendships tested, loyalties questioned, but also clarified. People saw each other differently now, not just based on words, but based on actions, reactions, and what they chose to do after everything came out. And as time moved forward, the story didn't end, it evolved. The explosive moment that started. It all became just one part of a bigger picture, one chapter in something that was still being written. Because in the end, it was never just about a slap or a fight, or even the truth being exposed. Was about what happens when everything hidden comes to light, when emotions run high, when trust is tested in front of everyone, and when you're forced to decide whether something broken is worth trying to fix. And that decision, that's the part no one could predict. It's the part that would define everything that came next. leaving everyone watching, waiting, and wondering what the final outcome would be. And now everything hangs in the balance, because what started as one explosive moment has turned into a situation that could change everything for good. Relationships tested, trust broken, and emotions that still haven't fully settled, this is far from over. The real question is, can something like this truly be fixed, or was that moment the beginning of the end? Fans are still divided, debates are still going, and everybody has their own opinion on who crossed the line and who deserves another chance. So now I need to hear from you. Do you think Scrappy went too far, or was he trying to stop things before they got worse? Was Bambi right to walk away, or should she give him another chance after everything that came out? And what about Erica P? She exposed the truth, or did she create even more chaos than necessary? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this conversation is far from finished. Make sure you like this video if you want more deep drama breakdowns like this. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because if this situation continues to unfold the way it's going, the next chapter might be even more shocking than what we just saw.